Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Grumpy Surfer podcast. And the first time I've kind of done like a solo video like this. I'm just kind of doing this just to put a few points of view across and stuff I've experienced over the last few months and kind of do it maybe on a weekly basis, just to put some ideas out there and then kind of see what people's reactions are to this. I'm in my gym in Exmouth, Jiu Jitsu. Which we set up in September. If you've been listening to the podcast, I talk about it quite a lot. And yeah, it's a cool place, a cool space. Bit weird because I can see people walking past, kind of watching through the window at what we're doing and what I'm doing. But yeah, it's all good. And not been surfing much. I've probably surfed about 3 or 4 times this year so far. And I've been quite disappointed with myself, if I'm honest, because I know life gets in the way, but I should really kind of make the effort to get up there. We've had couple of car issues, couple of life issues, I should say. Now I've changed my car. I've gone all electric, which is going to be interesting to see how that mileage works when I'm driving about. But it's a mint motor. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but yeah, it's pretty decent, and hopefully it's going to be big enough to put my boards into the back of it. Got to get a roof rack yet to throw my longboard on. Got a Skin Dog 9.6 cherry picker, and yeah, I've yet to be on that actually. I haven't surfed it for probably over a year. There was a phase where I got really into longboarding for a little bit. Again, I go through phases, much like the mid-lengths. And yeah, I really enjoy longboarding. I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I really want to do a little bit more than this, a little bit more of this, should I say? And I really haven't done it. And it's good for the local as well. Down here in Exmouth, there's a couple of little spots that can be surfed. One of my big bugbears with Exmouth is when you look at the beach, it's kind of like a right hand point break, but you'd have to get a laser beam and laser cut the end of from where I live all the way down to Plymouth and move all that land out the way to allow the swell to come through. You go a couple of miles down the road to like Sidmouth and a few of the other places where the swell kind of starts to kick in before it goes east towards London along the south coast of England. But for some reason, it doesn't really kick in here. You have to get some storm waves or a really big southwesterly groundswell for it to come through, which is quite annoying. But yeah, summer's come around. It's getting a little bit warmer, so yeah, I don't think anywhere around here is going to work again until the winter. And I need to get myself back up to the North Devon area and start surfing some longboard waves and surfing my longboard a little bit more. It's a lot more fun, and you know, you can have a little bit of banter with people in the water. But I think sometimes shortboarding's got this stigma where it's like, rah, rah, shortboarders, rah, get out of the way. But yeah, I find people a little bit more happier surfing on a longboard. Been on a couple of podcasts as well. I was lucky enough to go on with Mitch and Pete on the UK Surf Show. So big shout out to them guys. Don't know why I whistled. Weird. And went on the podcasts with a guy called Ollie, who does the Warrior Wellness podcast. Which is really cool. He's looking at like the mentality of people that have been in the military, looking at the rehab, looking at the holistic approach to training and physical well-being, which is awesome. Which kind of like leads me onto my little next point. Really, is that you know, a few weeks ago, probably a month or so ago, there was a guy who committed suicide. Ex-Royal Marine bootneck, was living in Spain and had been going through a tough time really, and randomly just put like, look, I'm not going to beat about the bush, put like a really long Facebook post up and said, you know, basically goodbye world, and went and killed himself, which kind of set me off a little bit because, you know, I've been out of the military now, what, for 3 years now, and I feel kind of like that the military and almost like the welfare system in a way for veterans and people that have left or are leaving um, kind of fails a little bit. I'm not slating it, but I am. And I just feel like that there's something that could be done within, you know, 6 months to a year after people leave. Like, you know, there must be a database where an alert comes up. I know lots and thousands of veterans people leave every year. But just something where like something is alerted and highlighted, say, yeah, this guy's been out for 6 months a year. Give him a little phone call and just say, oh, ads, how's it going? How's civil life treating you? You know, is there anything that we can do to help? Can we point you in any directions? And especially with those guys that have served for, you know, 22, 30 years plus, um, you know, just reasserts a little bit of value as opposed to being a number on a spreadsheet, which we all know at the end of the day, you are just, you know, a number on a bit of paper or on a computer. And, you know, gives back a little bit of value and just saying like, you know, we are thinking of you, but, you know, can we help out? And I wrote this, I wrote a big kind of a LinkedIn, and I kind of copy and pasted it into Facebook as well. And it was kind of along the lines of, this is not a cry for help, but lots of people committing suicide. If we thought of the people that, you know, we thought of somebody, just give them a call and just ask them how they are. It takes 5 minutes to ask them, like, how are they doing? How are they getting on? Do they need any help? That would be kind of cool, I think. And if we could all just take, you know, 5 minutes when we haven't spoken to somebody for a long time, or you know, a memory comes up, you know, not necessarily Afghanistan or Iraq, you know, a childhood school friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time, you just kind of give them a call and go, all right, how's it going? Have you got 5 minutes for a chat? And again, using that word value, I think it holds a lot, and shows people that, you know, there are people out there that are thinking of them, and you're not just stuck in your own little bubble. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm very kind of insulated in my own little bubble. Everything that I do is within a 2 mile radius of where I live. Essence coffee, by the way. X coffee, brilliant. Orange bag, I'll show the link at the end. Mega digressing. Yeah, just showing people that you care about them, and yeah, you know, it's an interesting thought anyway. I think. Been watching a bit of the WSL, the World Surf League, the World Championship Tour, not the World Tour, and it's been very intermittent. I watched a little bit of Margaret River, watched some of the highlights from the Gold Coast and Bells, and out of all of it, watching Geordie Smith has been absolutely amazing. The guy's 38 years old, so you know, one of the older guys on the World Surf League, but he's absolutely smashing it. Airs, carves, commitment, deep barrels. The guy's doing it all, and it's absolutely amazing to see. I used to talk to his photographer and have a chat about him every now and again, because Nick Christie does a little bit of videography and follows him around the tour doing like little snippets and videos. If you've ever seen some of his documentary stuff on YouTube, it's probably Nick that's done it, and says he's just a really cool, humble guy and just loves surfing. And I think that's something that we all need at some point is kind of is a passion, something to lean into. And I'm really lucky in the fact that I do lots of things that I really enjoy doing. I've worked to get to where I am, um, but I think people can do that too. It's about time management. It's about working out what you want to do, whether it's grappling, whether it's, I don't know, a form of martial art, whether it's painting, whether it's model making. We all have to take a nice deep breath every now and again out of the rat race, or try and get ourselves out of it and decompress a little bit. I've always used the word or the analogy of an anchor. We need to be anchored. Like when you throw an anchor out of a ship and it keeps you in place. If you don't have an anchor, it's really easy to kind of get lost in the current and get and being taken away by the rip or the wind. You know, being anchored, being secured to the ground and being in place really kind of gives you a bit of perspective, but also gives you something to look forward to. So whether that's a swell coming through for surfing, whether that's a competition that's coming up, whether it's surfing or jiu-jitsu or whatever you want to look at, or just purely going to the gym or a jiu-jitsu class and doing a workout, doing some drills, doing some technique, having some rolls, you know, talking to people, having an anchor that can really keep us in place is really important. And using inspiration as well. You know, modern day surfing, social media, jiu-jitsu, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all those platforms can give us little tidbits and bits of inspiration to do that as well. And using modern day jiu-jitsu and surfing, I listened to a podcast with Sean Thompson a couple of days ago, and he hit the nail on the head. He basically said that you can be so immersed into surfing or into a sport these days that whatever that professional person has done 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, and it gets uploaded onto the internet, you can see what they're doing and what they've been progressing with, what they've been learning within 20 minutes, which I think is really amazing. You know, using this platform, for instance, you know, after this podcast, I'm going to edit it and then I'm just going to throw it out into the ether, you know, and that's going to take me, you know, a couple of hours to do. And I think it's crazy. I had this conversation with my wife yesterday about how when I was born in 1981, and I'm kind of that beginning Gen X, Gen Z, I don't know what, Gen something, where I grew up without the internet, without phones. And as I've got older, that technology's come in, and seeing the development of that is amazing, but it's also kind of scary a little bit as well. You know, with all the AI stuff, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, it's kind of scary. But from buying VHS videotapes, you know, and watching surfers and stuff, I now use that as the example, to now being able just to switch on Instagram and Geordie Smith, we were just talking about him, Geordie Smith uploads his latest video of him, you know, getting absolutely shacked. Margaret River is up there within 5 minutes of him doing that. I mean, it's unthinkable, but it's quality. I believe that's what gives people the inspiration to go out of. And going back to this whole kind of dynamic of the anchor, people will go out, will go surfing, kids will try to emulate what he's doing, which is amazing. And I know I'm using Geordie Smith as the example. There are lots of other, you know, professional surfers out there that do it. Jiu-Jitsu is exactly the same thing. Lots of technique videos and inspirational like competition videos out there, like the IBJJF Worlds completed last night, early this morning. And all that content is already up there. People are looking at, oh, how did Adam Wardinsky win, win the final here? Or, how did this person do this? And it's sick, man. Like it's unbelievable. And to have that in the palm of your hand, and you could just be sat down having a coffee, having your breakfast or whatever it is, it's quite inspiring if I'm perfectly honest. And yeah, and I'd like to think this content that goes out there is going to be a little bit like that too. I don't know. Do you want to watch somebody rambling around like me? But I don't know. It's well, I'm doing it anyway, so fuck it. Um, yeah, the gym, Mahara Jiu Jitsu in Exmouth. I spoke about it, a few minutes ago. It's been a ride, man. Like it's really cool. Like there's just something really honest and um, it feels like wholesome, but also like I'm achieving something as well by creating something yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, my gym here is not like a massive gym like a Gracie Barra or an Atos. It's not a massive facility. It used to be a fishing shop that's been converted into a gym. Threw some mats into it. We've got a shower, a little change room. It's pretty cool, and I can do stuff like this, and slowly developing and getting students in and running a 4-week introduction course to get people into jiu-jitsu from the local area. So it's not kind of like they're coming in and they're really kind of at a loose end with it all. They don't know what's going on. We're just giving people something to grab onto instead of like going, oh, this is a K guard, and they're like, I don't even know what that is. This is side control. This is mount. People don't know what that is, especially if you've never done a sport like jiu-jitsu before anyway. But yeah, and people like that trying to open the door to come in to have a chat, and it's really nice, right in the centre of town. So if you're ever around, in the Exmouth area on holiday, if you're in the UK, pop in and say hello if we're about. Obviously not if we're not, because the door won't open. But yeah, but it's been having your own gym and teaching all the time and being on the mat, being immersed with jiu-jitsu and strength training and surfing, quite physically demanding. Now I'm 43, nearly 44, and having a 22-year career in the Marines, I've kept in good shape. I've always been going to the gym since I was about 14 years old, so I've always had this mentality of wanting to be fit, for myself, now for my kids, maintaining a healthy lifestyle. I'm very lucky in the manner that I've been able to do that, since I was a kid. But it started to take its toll a little bit now. I have to really like manage what I'm doing. I'm training 7 days a week. I do strength training, anywhere between 2 to 4 times per week as well. And I have to manage that as well. I enjoy strength training. I always have, like lifting weights. I do a lot of functional training, especially for surfing and jiu-jitsu. A lot of shoulder mobility, a lot of push-pull. And I think it really helps. But the key to it is to have a nice balance. Like if I do 4 days a week strength training and I'm rolling pretty hard during the week in the gym with my students, then the next week or come the weekend, I am so tired and the time but it's nice to be able to go, do you know what? I'm just gonna rest. And I've never done that before. I've always just kind of fought through it. So I've given myself a week off here and there. And it really helps. Been taking loads of peptides as well. whenever I get little injuries, whether it's like shoulders or knees, especially BPC 157, body protection compound. Look into it. I'll put some links into this podcast bio as well about BPC. The Huberman podcast has done a really good like breakdown of the peptides, specifically BPC 157, and it was a couple of my students actually that brought me onto it. And when I hurt my knee, I couldn't bend it. I thought, oh man, I've proper fucked myself here. And taking the peptide, when it got delivered, I couldn't bend my knee, like I couldn't go into a crouch position. And after taking it, 2 hours later, and I shit you not, 2 hours later, I was bending down into a full Afghan squat again, which I was like, oh, this is great. So I took a dose of that, which was over a sort of like a 10-day period, and it really helped. It's almost like a little bit, I could guess, like ibuprofen, where the painkiller, when you take it, goes to the area that needs it. And yeah, it's a little bit like that, but the peptide helps regenerate ligaments and muscle tissue when there's injuries, especially ligaments and tendons, because there's not a lot of blood flow that goes to those, and that's why they can take a long time to heal. So that's really helped with my recovery a little bit. But the other thing that's helped me with my training, especially Jiu Jitsu, has been tutorials. And again, I mentioned him a little bit earlier, Adam Wardinsky. He's become my little bit of my man crush at the moment. And I mean, Jiu Jitsu tutorials, I've talked about this in other podcasts previously. There's so many out of them. They're really expensive, and some of them are really, really long. But what I've kind of done with my tutorials is I've picked a couple of the techniques that I want to use, and that I kind of like resonate with me a little bit, and I watch them over and over and over again. And then what I do with it is I just practice it. And I've been doing a butterfly guard recently, Adam Wardinsky's butterfly guard, from standing and from kneeling. And I've just been practicing that, and I watch the tutorials. I've got myself into those positions, and I'm just constantly trying it. And the first month, I just failed miserably while I was doing it. But then I started to see the little things that I was doing wrong. And again, watching the tutorial over and over again and looking at the little details that he does and doesn't necessarily describe, whether it's putting his toes in one position or not, or the other. And it's really helped. So, I mean, that's kind of how I look at using tutorials when I'm doing jiu-jitsu. But it's the same thing when I'm looking at technique for surfing as well. I use Ombi quite a lot, and the breakdown that Clayton does for the coffee cup, front side and back side, your turning, compression and extension, using your back knee to get really low and turning your knee and your foot position, just not identifying and using all of it, but taking a couple of those little things and just implementing them when you go out. And you're going to fail a million times, but then you start to learn, oh, this is how it works, and it just starts to click. And when things start to click, that's when you can really start to feel what you're trying to do is working. And I find there's loads of benefit in it. So surfing tutorials and jiu-jitsu tutorials are an amazing tool, but don't rely on them too much, is kind of my advice, I would say. So, just to wash this up, it was only supposed to be 20 minutes to 30 minutes, kind of having a little chat. If you're ever in the Exmouth area in Devon, send me a message and pop in. We'll go and have a chat. Not that there's going to be loads of you doing that, and it would be a little bit weird if it was. Some groupies, maybe? I don't know. I'm being real big-headed, aren't I? I'll shut the fuck up now. Yeah, drop some messages. And if you like the podcast, please like, share, and leave a few reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.